Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. I am a professional numerologist. I've been practicing it for 14 years and I've done it professionally for 3 years. And in this video, we're going to talk about the number 9 life path. So we'll be talking about the symbolism, the traits, the purpose, the light side, shadow side, how to develop common careers, and some celebrities who are also 9 life paths. So I'll have the timestamp below. So let's begin with the symbolism. So I have several. The first symbolism I'm going to take from astrology. So we're going to go over Sagittarius, which is the 9th sign, and I happen to be a Sagittarius as well. And Sagittarius people are known as philosophers, which 9s kind of are as well. Sagittarius, they love freedom. They also love to travel, and that could mean spiritually traveling or like literally from around the world type of traveling, as well as they like to travel intellectually. The 9th house in astrology, it rules the higher mind, so like universities, higher education, and that sign also rules that house. It rules religion, morals, ethics, and as well as publishing and broadcasting. Then moving on to the next symbolism, we go to tarot. So the Hermit is the 9th. It represents self-examination and introspection. It's an image of an older man, hermit. He has like a lamp, and it represents spiritual mastery at the very top of the mountain. Represents wisdom and awareness as well. If the tarot card is upside down, it represents somebody who is isolated or lonely. Then the next symbolism comes from the Bible. So I'm gonna give an example of Jesus dying on the 9th hour at his crucifixion, and it symbolizes finality, completion, completing his purpose on earth, as well as paving a way for salvation for other people. Then next symbolism, we're going to look at Greek mythology. So Zeus, he had 9 daughters, and they each represented something, like personified arts, music, dance, poetry, knowledge, history, and literature. Then when we look at Feng Shui, which is like it's an art, I think it comes from Japan, about your spacing in the elements in your house, office, or room to get the most out of that energy. And the highest number of attainment is number 9 in Feng Shui. It also represents accomplishments, and it signifies fullness of heaven and earth. Then the next symbolism, we're going to look at 9 months for mammalian birth. I think I'm saying it right. The normal period of gestation before giving birth. And then moving on to one more, geometry. So if you look at all shapes in nature, we can look at circles, triangles, squares, and so on. If you calculate all those angles until one single digit, it all equals 9, which represents completion. So I'll give you an example. So when it comes to a triangle, adding all those 3 angles together equals 180, and you take 1 plus 8 plus 0, which equals 9. And then a square is also the total goes to 360 degrees, looking at those 4 90-degree angles. And what's 360 degrees as a single digit? 3 plus 6 plus 0 equals 9. You can say the same as well about a circle, which is 360 degrees, a pentagon 540, that's 5 plus 4 plus 0 equals 9, a hexagon 900 degrees, and it goes on. So all like shapes in nature, they all equal number 9, which is like, it represents completion of creation. And so looking at all those symbols, what they all have in common is completion, life mission, life purpose, wisdom, higher consciousness, as well as spiritual enlightenment. And so that is a symbolism of 9. Now moving on to the traits of the number 9 life path. So what I have listed is they can be really intuitive, insightful, wise, honest, idealistic, creative, charismatic when they walk into a room, as well as compassionate people. They tend to be selfless as well, generous with their time, with their energy, very responsible, as well as very determined, ambitious people. 9 is the most evolved number in numerology. What goes after that? What is it not 10? What is it not 10 or 11, 12? Well, 10 is the goal of numerology is to add everything until a single digit unless it's master numbers. So 10 is back to 1. So 9 has every single number 1 through 8 in it. And it kind of represents like a person, 9 life paths, who are very old souls. I tend to find that true as well. And many of them have had life experiences. They could have played many roles, many jobs, and they picked up a lot of wisdom and experience from that. It's like they've walked in many people's shoes. At work, I find a lot of them involved in humanitarian pursuits in order to feel happy, and they're very charismatic. They have a strong presence when they walk into a room. They kind of look like they're in charge. And also a lot of them gravitate towards management or servant leadership positions. So many are very, very involved with humanitarianism. I just, when I think of a 9 life path, I think of humanitarianism or charity or nonprofit work. A lot of them are found in service as well, working for equal rights. They can be advocates as well, then working in social services. And they just desire to create peace, love, and harmony on this planet to help humankind. Then moving on to the purpose of a 9 life path, the titles: humanitarians, natural leaders, sages, teachers, guides. The theme of their life purpose, what it is central, revolves around is wisdom, integrity, responsibility, leadership, and service. So I find those are the themes where a lot of their growth is. I did mention old souls again, so I'm going to mention it again as well. So they kind of have this personality where they've lived many past lives and they're just remembering the experience from their past lives. And also it's just interesting, I found this from a book, that 9 life paths, it kind of seems like they, like in the past, lived secret lives of monks and nuns who live by their own laws. They'll play like many roles, learn many lessons around sin versus salvation as well. Like, for example, being the accuser versus like the martyr, or the person who died for their beliefs. A part of their purpose, like a huge part, is they're here to learn to trust their wisdom, to live and lead with integrity, to serve as role models, and to become a source of light for others. Before they mature on that path, some 9s are completely unaware or ignorant. They just don't care about the consequences. They just want to live by their own laws, such as bending the rules until they get stuck, and then that situation forces them to look for something higher. Many 9s are also aware of social rules, but I find a lot of them more interested in universal truths, universal laws. They just want to be inspired by something higher, or search for any deeper truths of life. Some also, I find, associate really strongly with religion or philosophies, or some reject all of it, but what they desire is wisdom that leads to a higher purpose. And then when it comes to integrity, they're really here to demonstrate integrity, to be an authority of integrity. And what is that? That's being honest with your actions, matching your words, as well as your heart and your mind is aligned. So it's like about harmonious alignment with your words and actions, and with your heart and your mind. That to demonstrate integrity is the purpose of the 9. The opposite of that is just being a preacher, just being a spokesperson of what they believe in. If they do fail to practice what they preach, they can fall very hard and suffer lessons dramatically if they don't learn to live by their own principles or their own beliefs. And these lessons are part of them becoming a role model to set examples for others. So they must find their way first before they lead other people. Even if they don't try to be a leader, people are always watching their actions. People are always paying attention to the nines and what they do, whether that be good or bad. And when you see nines walk into a room, you'll assume like, oh, are they the manager? Are they the teacher? Are they the boss? Are you in charge? My mom's a 9 life path as well. She always looks like she's in charge no matter like where she goes. So ultimately, it is important for the nines to be motivated by helping others or to be of service instead of just pursuing materialism. And you do find a lot of nines, since a lot of them get into humanitarian or nonprofit or charity work. I just know like if they are pursuing a career that is just money, 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 they're just gonna feel emptiness inside if they're not doing something of service with their work. And as a part of that, as a part of transcending materialism as well, they are here to learn to go beyond the rules and opinions of society on how they should live their life, and instead trust their own wisdom, listening to their own wisdom to connect to other people and to help them decide decisions as well. So they just want to be inspired by universal or spiritual laws. When they mature, they have learned to listen to their heart's wisdom, as well as to demonstrate integrity and to connect to others using their own life experience. And finally, last thing I want to say about life purpose is they are here to surrender to higher principles, to be leaders of service, and to become a source of light, a guiding light for others. Then moving on to the next topic is the light side, or the gifts of the number 9 life path. So I have many. So first I want to say that in the light, the traits that are related to 9s in their light or in their positive is they are aware, they are understanding, they're aligned with wisdom and integrity, they lead by example, they're also kind, tolerant, and compassionate, as well as generous. They also need to be aware of their words, their actions, their habits, and their beliefs, and how it can impact other people, because people do look to them for advice and guidance. Another thing in the light is like, what I mean is they're trusting their intuition and they're inspired by something higher, and they're sharing their profound insight. And I do find them like, no matter what, they're going to end up teaching. It doesn't have to be like in a school, but they use their life to teach. And while they are teaching, they're in the light when they're practicing integrity. So look at Gandhi, who's a 9 life path. He said, be the change you wish to see in this world. So if you really feel like suffering or sadness or anger about a situation that needs justice, you don't just sit there and be like angry and then like talk down on people who are doing bad. Like, just stop whatever you're doing, like just go do something about it instead of just moping and complaining and talking bad about the world. So that's what I mean. And also another light side is wisdom. Wisdom is essential to guiding others. So they're in their light when they're reflecting on their heart's wisdom and using their personal experience to help others instead of being influenced by just opinions of society. In positive, they're also willing to accept leadership positions. I know some 9s who shy away from it, but people end up putting them in leadership positions anyway, because they're really meant to like help with that. They're here to use their charisma to lead others by example towards a meaningful cause, or just simply working on a project, being a leader. As they mature, some will end up teaching, some will end up lecturing, and they're in the positive when their words are rich and flowing with a spiritual force or with wisdom. And they also become an authority of integrity. So that's very positive, very purposeful. I also find that they're accomplished artists, accomplished thinkers as well. really into art, music, poetry, expressing themselves creatively, because 9 is a creative number. At their highest, they're focused on serving humanity or the community, and they are influence others to make a difference in this world. That involves the 9 living by higher principles, a higher calling, as well as being inspired by universal or spiritual awareness. And ultimately, they become lanterns for other people in the dark. It's like a hermit. Now, next section, we're going to go over the shadow side, or the challenges of 9 life path. So, a lot of the themes tend to lead to spiritual law. So how they live their lives is like, it's kind of like sin versus salvation, their mind versus their heart, using respect for good versus misusing something for the wrong, using something for the wrong purposes, like charisma to manipulate. A shadow side is a 9 that is unconcerned or unaware. 9 is the number of enlightenment. The opposite is ignorance. And that could mean they're ignorant of their own intuition. They could ignore universal conditions, like I don't really care what happens to people out there, as well as ignoring the consequences of their personal actions. That could be how they treat themselves, how they treat other people. I've seen a 9 who is just over, just really, really bad habits with smoking, drinking, overeating, not really care how they appear socially to others, but others are always watching their actions. And then another shadow side is a 9 who is egocentric or arrogant or intolerant. And a lot of 9s, they're dominated by their higher ambitions, high standards, high ideals. And if other people don't meet that, then they harshly criticize others. Like, why are you motivated by this and that? Like, why aren't you doing something that's ethical or moral? So, like, kind of arrogant. And other qualities related to what I just mentioned, they could be preachy, self-righteous, blameful, forcing their opinions on others, or being a victim to their own hypocrisy. So when their actions don't align with their beliefs or what they tell people, they will fall, and they will fall very hard. So it's kind of like evangelists falling hard from grace, or people who are super devoted to a dogmatic belief in a religion, and they're telling people how to live their life. Another shadow side is fanaticism or strict belief, speaking in a religious or political way, as if that is the truth. So they're mistaking their own opinion for the truth is a shadow side, as well as being overly sensitive to other people's opinions. They could be, another shadow side is acting as martyrs or victims, like they're feeling punished for their own beliefs or their ideals, but they always reap what they sow. 9s can also swing from extreme righteousness all the way to completely ignoring their personal responsibility. Eventually, those issues, they're going to have to face self-trust issues relating to high ideals, their principles, and they have to work on freeing themselves from opinions and connect to their own heart instead. And another issue, just a few more, is feeling bitterness or resentment, especially with their original family, because it is so common for me to find 9s who felt abandoned when they were younger. That could be they were adopted, they could have had a parent that died early or left very early in age, and they just have those issues with trusting others and being guarded or acting like nobody really cares. That makes it really difficult for the 9 to move on, and sometimes they're so busy helping other people that they end up feeling like no one cares. So again, it's kind of like your beliefs also attract the situation that confirms your belief. So just being aware of that. And last thing, I just want to mention a few more emotions relating to difficulty moving on, and it's sadness, sorrow, mood swings, being fearful, guarded. They isolate themselves. They could be hoarding everything or being extremely wasteful, and then depressed. Then next section we're going to talk about how to develop from those challenges. So there's two themes. What I'm going to list is revolved around two themes. So first is going to be wisdom and purpose. I'll just put that into one theme. And then the second is being human. So first, my advice is don't ignore your inherent wisdom or intuition. Use them as your counsel before you make any decisions or take any actions. Next way to develop is to study human nature to understand how people behaved and even to understand people as well. It's going to help the 9 develop their wisdom and intuition, as well as developing patience and persistency, since 9s are ambitious. And by increasing their ability to learn, it's going to help them look at all aspects of the psyche before they conclude an opinion about a person based on personal view. So it's all about just knowing that sometimes your strict standards or strict ideals, it doesn't really make you successful with as being a successful judge of character. Then next way to develop is to ask yourself, what would my higher self do? So it's about, before you make decisions or act on something, just to engage in your spiritual side first and listening to your inner voice, because you do have a lot of wisdom. It also helps to find what inspires you and to follow it. So that is the 9, surrendering to higher principles. So anything related to morals or ethics, and to live by higher love, higher peace, higher wisdom. They also need to understand a higher purpose as well that they can surrender to, like looking for something bigger than themselves that helps them connect with the world. Because if they don't connect to a higher purpose, they're just going to be a rebel without a cause. So they must align with these laws, universal, spiritual. They also must realize that there's no best religion, no best course, no best lifestyle for one person. So they have to really learn to respect other people's choices, and above all, listen to your own heart. I've repeated that like almost 10 times so far. Then the next way to develop is to remember that you're a human being. So come down to earth from time to time. I find a lot of 9s, if they don't get something done perfectly or well, then they just beat themselves up for it. They go really hard on themselves. So go easy on yourself. Remember that you're human. It's okay to make mistakes. Then also another shadow side is some people may see 9s as being very serious about everything. And I would advise the 9 to laugh at life a little bit more. That's the key. Humor is the key to having a balanced lifestyle, as well as helping you with a healthy state of mind. Then I also find that, 9s are very selfless. They tend to help a lot of people, extend their heart, their time, their energy to help a lot of people, and they will feel responsible for many people in their lives as well. And some of them just are so busy taking care of other people's businesses that other people don't notice that the 9 also needs help. So just remember to ask for love or help or affection from time to time. Another thing is, I also find that 9s are accused of being condescending or patronizing, just because the 9, they just know what they just know, they just have the knowledge, or they just have a confident belief in something. And then it actually makes people resent the 9 or end up competing against the 9, but then the 9's not really competing with anyone. So I would say forgive them for they don't know. So it's I think it's from Jesus. Just forgive them for not knowing what they don't know. Relating to forgiveness, I would say take care to not live in the past and instead live in the present, especially any resentments or bitterness with your original family. After all, 9s just desire peace, and their purpose is to help humanity move forward and make a positive difference in this life. So it's all about letting go of weight from the past. Last point on how to develop is to remember that no matter what role you play, you're leading others by example. So next, we're going to talk about affirmations. So I have 2 for the 9. So the first one is, I can have you repeat it after me as well. So the first one is, I joyfully release the past, which no longer serves me. I joyfully release the past, which no longer serves me. And then the second affirmation is, I am inspired by a higher purpose and lead with love, wisdom, and integrity. I am inspired by a higher purpose and lead with love, wisdom, and integrity. Then the next one, we're almost done here. Let's talk about careers. So at work, 9s do attract money as long as they are in service or part of a good cause for others, whether that's social, environmental, or just bettering humankind. They're more suited for art than fields in science, more suited for humanitarian than commercial, as well as more idealistic than practical. So they gotta make sure that they're accomplishing things step by step. In creative fields, they are found to be musicians, comics, actors, illustrators, designers, photographers, writers, and many are accomplished artists and thinkers. Then guidance and healing is another field that 9s can get involved in, being a counselor, advisor, a therapist, a nurse, and even a doctor. Then in leadership, if you gravitate towards that, so like 9s can be effective employees. They don't need to be the center of attention, but people end up putting them there. So being a manager, an entrepreneur, a boss really suits the 9. Lastly, service, fields of service. So many 9s, they're willing to surrender to society to progress humankind. So that could be a teacher, a lawyer, a politician, a social worker, and even working a non-profit. So last thing we're going to talk about, I'll list some famous 9 life paths. So first, Mahatma Gandhi, Bob Marley, Elvis Presley, Stan Lee, the person who created all the comics, the superhero comics, Marvel. And then we have Jim Carrey. You see, he recently had a spiritual awakening. And Ariana Grande, Morgan Freeman, Alicia Keys, Whitney Houston, Heidi Klum, Cher, Harrison Ford, Adele, Prince, and Jimi Hendrix. So that is it for the 9 life paths. I hope you really enjoyed that. Let me know if this makes sense in the comments, or if you have a 9 loved one in your life, if that makes sense. If this helps you understand yourself or others better, please let me know. And also, if you want a personal reading, go ahead and look in the description below and you can book me. All right, so have a beautiful day and I'll see you next time. Bye.